All right, so if you're here, I'm guessing you've got that pesky check engine light staring you in the face, and a code scanner just gave you the news, P014A. Well, don't sweat it. You are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down what this Ford code really means and give you a simple step-by-step guide to figure it out and get it fixed.
I know, seeing that light can be a real pain, but a little knowledge goes a long way. Our goal here is to get you from feeling confused to feeling confident. We're going to walk you through everything step by step so you know exactly what to look for and what to do. No more guesswork.
Okay, let's dive right in. Before we can even think about fixing the problem, we've got to understand what our car is actually trying to tell us. So this first part is all about translating that technical gobbledygook into plain English.
So here's the bottom line. Your car's main computer has spotted that a very specific oxygen sensor is being, well, a little lazy. It's supposed to switch super fast between measuring a rich exhaust, that's more fuel, and a lean one, that's more air. This code means it's taking too long to make that switch from rich to lean.
The first piece of jargon you need to know is the PCM, or Powertrain Control Module. Just think of this thing as the brain of your car. It's constantly watching hundreds of signals from sensors all over the place. And when one of those signals looks a little off, like our slow O2 sensor, the PCM throws up a red flag and bam, the check engine light comes on.
Now that specific sensor we're talking about has a pretty wild name, HO2S22. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. But it's just code. It stands for the heated oxygen sensor on bank 2 and it's sensor number 2, which just means it's the one located after the catalytic converter. Its whole job is to make sure the converter is doing its job cleaning up the exhaust. So P014A is just the PCM saying, hey, this specific sensor is being sluggish.
Okay, so now we know what the code means. The next big question is, why is it happening? We're going to start our diagnosis with the easiest and, honestly, the most common culprits, things happening outside of the sensor itself. This is super important because it can stop you from replacing a perfectly good part.
And here is our game plan for the next few minutes. This table lays out the 5 biggest suspects we're going to investigate, from exhaust leaks all the way to a bad sensor. We're going to tackle these one by one, giving you a really clear, logical path to follow.
First up on our list, and a really common one, are exhaust leaks. See, if you've got a little crack or a bad seal in the exhaust pipe anywhere near the sensor, fresh air from the outside can get sucked in. All that extra oxygen completely messes up the sensor's readings, making the computer think the sensor is slow when the real problem is the leak itself. The solution here is pretty straightforward. You'll want to safely get under your car and take a really close look at the whole exhaust system, especially around that bank 2 sensor. Listen for any hissing sounds, look for soot marks. If you find a leak, that's your #1 priority. Get that fixed before you even think about touching the sensor. Now this next one is really interesting, especially for those of you who've customized your ride. If you've put on an aftermarket exhaust or other performance parts, they can actually change how the exhaust gases flow. That change might be just enough to confuse the car's computer and make it think the original O2 sensor isn't working right, which, you guessed it, triggers the code.
So, if you do have some mods, the best troubleshooting step is to consider putting the original factory parts back on. I know it's a pain, but it puts the system back to the way the PCM expects it to be, and that can often make the code go away for good.
All right, here's a culprit a lot of people miss: the actual fuel in your tank. Some fuels, especially ones with high ethanol content like E85, burn differently. That can change the makeup of your exhaust gases, and your O2 sensor system might not be calibrated for it, leading to that delayed response error.
And the fix for this one couldn't be simpler. If you think high ethanol fuel might be the issue, just drive that tank until it's low and then fill up with standard, lower ethanol gasoline. After a bit of driving, the system might just sort itself out and the code could clear itself.
So, what happens if you've checked for leaks, you're running stock parts, you've got the right fuel, and that light is still on? Well, now it's time to zoom in and look at the sensor system itself. We're going to check out the wiring and then finally the sensor.
You know, an O2 sensor is totally useless if it can't talk to the PCM, and its wiring lives in a pretty rough neighborhood under your car. We're talking heat, water, vibrations, the whole deal. A loose plug, a wire that's gotten frayed, or some corrosion can create a weak signal, and the PCM will see that as a bad sensor. So, the next job is to play detective with the wiring. Trace it from the HO2S22 sensor back. Check the connector. Is it clicked in all the way? Do the wires look okay? A lot of the time, just cleaning up a dirty connector or fixing a little bit of damaged wire is all it takes to solve the whole problem.
And that brings us to our final suspect. After we have checked literally everything else, we finally have to consider the sensor itself. Just like any other part on a car, O2 sensors don't last forever. They can get contaminated or just fail over time. If you've ruled out every other possibility, there's a very good chance the sensor itself is the problem.
Now, the final fix here is to test the sensor's performance, which you can do with a good diagnostic scanner. If those tests confirm it's not responding like it should, then it's time to replace it. This should always be the last resort, but if you've done all the other checks first, you can be confident you're not just throwing parts and money at the problem. Okay, we've covered a ton of information. So now, let's pull it all together into a really clear, simple plan of attack. Think of this as your final checklist to take down code P014A once and for all.
This right here is the whole game plan. Remember, start with the easy stuff first. Check for exhaust leaks, then think about any aftermarket parts and the fuel you're using. If all of that checks out, move on to the wiring, and only after you've ruled everything else out should you finally test and, if needed, replace that O2 sensor. Following this order will save you a world of trouble.
So, let's end on this note of confidence. This code might seem complicated, but it is absolutely manageable. As long as you follow a logical process, you will find the cause and you will get it fixed. The key is to be methodical and not just jump to conclusions.
And that's a wrap. You now have a complete roadmap for diagnosing Ford code P014A. So the only question left is, what's the very first step you're going to take to get that check engine light turned off for good? Thanks for joining me.